What's up, guys? Welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. So we're gonna watch this clip of Ted Cruz on this side go at it with Caitlin Clark, finally taking down this BS narrative of election denialism and how it's only Republicans, only Donald Trump that has denied the results of an election. Therefore, he is a threat to democracy. But they always tend to ignore the original election deniers, which are the Democrats. So Ted Cruz does a great job of making Caitlin Collins realize the reality of how one-sided the mainstream liberal media is, and how they only push this narrative when there's a Republican in front of them. So let's watch this clip together.
Gets in his own way, but I do want to ask about the election. You were the first senator to object to the votes. Mm-hmm. In 2024, will you certify the election results? Do you plan to object, or will you accept the results regardless of who wins the election?
So, Caitlin, I got to say, I think that's actually a ridiculous question.
It's a yes or no question, though.
No, it's not. Let me explain why it's a ridiculous question. It's not a question. Have you ever asked a Democrat that?
Of course.
What Democrat?
But what Democrats?
Lies. They don't ask a Democrat that. And that's what's crazy about this narrative, is that that's who they should be asking right now. That's who's going to lose the election. If you look at every single poll, it has Donald Trump winning. So they need to ask every Democrat that sits on there and say, hey, are you going to accept the results of the election when Donald Trump wins? Because that's who's ahead. That's who's winning in the polls right now. Is it going to be the same way as it was in 2016 when he won the election with all those riots that they had in these liberal cities? Right? That's who they need to be asking. Joe Biden is not going to win the election, so there's no reason for Republicans to accept an L, because there's no way that Donald Trump is going to lose. But they're trying to already set the pavement that, hey, if Donald Trump does win, it's for these reasons, and basically make it seem like the Republicans are the only ones that deny elections. It's a bunch of nonsense, man.
What Democrats challenge it?
What Democrats? I know. I've been down this road many times. But no Democrat. You cannot compare the two situations. We have talked about that. We've seen the audio of that when they protested on the Senate floor.
But hold on a second.
But has you ever had a sitting president who refused to facilitate the peaceful transition of power, refused to acknowledge that his successor won the presidency?
No, he can't, because that has never happened. When the Democrat was running for re-election, they won all the way back to Clinton. So there was no need for a Democrat to say that the election was stolen from them, or say it wasn't, fair and square, because they won. This is a disingenuous question. This is how we know she don't know what they're talking about. There would be no reason for a Democrat to say that the election was stolen from them when they won all of their re-elections. It's nonsense.
A, we did have a peaceful transfer of power. I was there on January 20th. I was there on the swearing in.
Barely.
B, if you look at in 2000, Democrats went to the Senate, or 2001, Democrats went to the Senate floor and objected to George W. Bush. In 2004, they went and objected.
And what did the president do?
In 2016, Democrats went and objected to Donald Trump. And so
facts.
What happened in 2016? Because I remember a guy named Joe Biden was vice president, and he went to the Senate floor and certified the votes.
So do you
Am I wrong?
So you're asking, will you promise no matter
what? So did Trump's vice president. So that's a wash. That's a mute point.
To agree an election is illegitimate regardless of what happens. And that would be an absurd thing to claim. Like, we have an entire election law system that people challenge elections get overturned, voter fraud gets proven. That happens all the time. And the media engages in this weird game post Donald Trump that you insist no voter fraud has ever existed. Why does every state have laws in place to challenge voter fraud if it occurs?
The media
Why do you have election challenges?
This isn't a game. There was no widespread voter fraud.
It is a game.
This is why I stopped shopping on Amazon, and you should too. Don't spend another dime on Amazon.
I thought I had my ad blocker up.
Ask Republicans that.
Because it was Republicans who tried to block the transition of power. You have to acknowledge that.
So
We've never seen it on a scale of what happened in 2020, and we've never seen the president refuse. He wouldn't even let Joe Biden get classified briefings at the beginning. I recall that.
So
my question for you again, free and fair election, will you accept the results regardless of who wins?
Look, if the Democrats win, I will accept the result, but I'm not going to ignore fraud
But was there
regardless
fraud
of what
in
happens.
2020?
Of course there was fraud in
No,
2020.
there wasn't, and you still objected.
Oh, you know for a fact there was zero voter fraud. Really? What's your basis for that? Show me your evidence.
We've spoken with Governor Kemp. They did 3 hand recounts in the state of Georgia. The director of CISA said that it was the safest, most legitimate election.
But you're saying zero voter fraud occurred. That's what you just said.
Nothing that would have changed the outcome.
Okay,
of that
but that's a
election.
different statement.
But no, it's not.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Saying there was zero fraud and saying there wasn't enough fraud to, change the results of the election are two different things. So she's going from saying that there was no fraud, that's what she was claiming at first, to now when he called her out to say, well, the fraud was not significant enough to change the outcome of the elections. She just did an okie doke there. This is wordplay. This is a bunch of nonsense. And she's going to make the claim that those two statements are the same exact thing. These people think you're stupid.
You said there was no voter fraud.
There was no voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election. And you know that, Senator.
So what I know is that what I stood on the Senate floor and objected, what I called for, I'll tell you, I wrestled with what to do in that circumstance. And the reason I wrestled with it is because I think there was significant voter fraud in 2020. And
you wanted the 10-day commission, I know, but was there voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election?
But do you know why I wanted a 10-day commission? Because I tried to look, I'm a Supreme Court litigator. I argue cases in front of the Supreme Court.
I know.
I tried to look through history and precedent, and the best precedent I could find was the election of 1876. 1876 was between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden. And what happened there were serious allegations of voter fraud, and Congress didn't throw its hands up and say, you know what? CNN demanded that I accept the results no matter what, so ignore the fraud. I got to go. But hold on. What did Congress do in 1876?
How did the president handle it?
What did Congress do in 1876?
Senator, you can't answer yes or no to this question.
I'm asking a question. What did Congress do in 1876?
You can't answer yes or no to this question. And Republicans,
can you answer my question? Why are you refusing to answer my question?
I'm conducting the interview with all due respect, Senator. And let me ask you, it's Republicans have twisted themselves in knots. It's just a yes or no question.
I'm not twisting myself. I'm answering your question. You just don't like my answer.
And what's your answer? Is it yes or is it no?
So in 1876, what Congress did is it appointed an election commission. It consisted of 15 people, 5 House members, 5 senators, 5 Supreme Court justices. The election commission was charged with studying the evidence and making a determination of what voter fraud occurred, and that determined the winner. And what I called for in 2020 was to do the same thing, appoint an election commission, and 11 senators joined me.
Senator, with all due respect, after it had been thrown out of many courts, after the Attorney General Bill Barr, because there was no basis for those court cases.
No, so that's actually
Senator,
not.
With all due respect,
you asked me a question. Do you want me to answer it?
And you didn't answer the question. Dozens of court cases were thrown out.
Hold on a
Attorney
second.
General said there was no widespread fraud. You're not clearly answering the question. I want to thank you for that.
I'm answering every question. I think the country would have been a lot better off with a determination of what evidence of voter fraud there was that occurred. And instead, the media didn't want to hear it and insists voter fraud never occurs. You ought to go back and look at the Carter-Baker Commission.
It was the Attorney General, and my question was
it was the media. It was CNN that relentlessly pushed that propaganda. And by the way,
there was no widespread fraud in the election?
That voter fraud doesn't exist, and anyone who says it does is wearing a tinfoil hat. That is propaganda. And by the way, you never asked Hillary Clinton this. You never asked Stacey Abrams this. You never asked Al Gore this.
With all due respect,
and every
Senator,
one of them said the Republicans who won were illegitimate.
I haven't had any of them on my show. We'll talk to them, but I don't remember there being a president who was refusing to turn over the transition of power and facilitated it.
And Trump didn't either. Joe
My
Biden
question was about
became
2024. You did not answer.
Let me say a final
Senator
point
Ted
for you.
Cruz,
You
we're
said
out of
they
time.
haven't come.
Thank you very much,
My
Senator
opponent,
Ted
Colin
Cruz.
Allred, hasn't either. He ought to come to your show.
Senator Ted Cruz, no answer to that question. Thank you very much.
Wow. Yeah, there you have it. Yeah, he wouldn't let her push the propaganda, so she had to cut off the interview, right? He wouldn't let her spin her false, fake ass stories that they do on this mainstream media. But hey, once again, rules for thee, but not for me. They're going to hold the Republicans, the conservatives, everybody on the right to a different standard. When Hillary and everybody else was denying elections, I mean, they did a whole investigation talking about Russia They say Russia interfered with the elections, that Hillary did not lose fair and square, that there was an outside influence from a different country. Right? How is that not election denialism? I don't understand. It does not make any sense to me. But hey, this is how they operate. This is how the media works. This is how the leftists and the Democrats think. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. If you guys like the channel, like the video, hit the like button down below. And of course, if you want more videos, hit the subscribe button with the notification bell so you get reminded every time I bring a brand new video. Thanks for being here, guys. See you in the next one. Peace.